So there.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
Why do you keep saying let us know your thoughts?
Let me know your thoughts to me is a nice lead-in for So There. So There. Welcome to episode 35 of So
There.
I'm Tom Karamitis.
I'm Gary Doyle.
And we're back to our roots today. No, we don't have any guests today. It's just back to the way it started.
It's So There classic. It's like, it's not new So There. It's So There classic. It's like when the artist, the musician has a bunch of guests on their record, a bunch of special guests to perform on different songs, and they do an album that way, and it's fine. But then they go back. Then the next album is just them, just them and their band, and it's more pure, and it's classic.
In our case, the reasoning is more mundane. We can't get anybody to come on our show.
Well, the reason we had our legends on last week, Ned Crowley and Bob Akers, was it was a naked attempt, not a naked podcast. Don't want to mislead anybody. It was a naked attempt to boost our analytics, and did it work, Tom?
I forgot to check. I dropped the ball on that.
I thought you said that our downloads doubled or something like that. I mean, that's like doubling from 2 to 4.
Yeah, there was an initial bump. I didn't really follow up after that. But you know what? I think we both came to the conclusion that that's okay. And even if we're the only two that listen to this, it's going to still be put in a time capsule someday and left for posterity.
I think it will. Yeah. I think they're going to discover this, and like the ancient Mayan ruins or Machu Picchu, they will wonder what created this.
Speaking of the Mayans, do you think the Mayans had a logo? The early Mayan designers?
Well, yeah, I think they probably did. I mean, the Mayans were pretty brilliant people. I mean, the Mayans, I think, probably had a logo. I think everybody seems to have a logo. In fact, I have a logo, actually. I don't know if you know this, Tom, but I have my own Doyle family crest.
I could only imagine what that looks like.
Well, I just had it created, and, the problem is I don't know where to put it. I have it flying on top of a giant flagpole in my front yard, but the neighbors are starting to complain. I thought they'd be happy when I took down my Biden-Harris flag and put back up the Doyle family crest, but apparently not.
Well, perhaps you should look into Midwest Promotional Group.
Midwest Promotional Group? What's that, Tom?
Gary, Midwest Promotional Group is at the center of customization. You name it, they brand it. T-shirts, check. Coffee mugs, check. Customized AirPods, check. Apparel is, as you know better than anybody, apparel is the perfect complement to your brand, and Midwest Promotional Group gives you access to most any type for a very affordable price.
I mean, I was talking about a flag, not apparel, but blame the copywriter who wrote this. Tom, they say branded merchandise helps build business relationships for any size business, big or small, be it client gifts, employee events, or trade show giveaways.
But, they aren't always right. But in this case, they are right. With Midwest Promotional Group,
they felt that Biden would defeat Trump by 8 percentage points nationally and would destroy him in Wisconsin and Florida. I just want to point that out about they.
With Midwest Promotional Group, you can access top retail brands such as Under Armour, North Face, Patagonia, Callaway, Yeti, Richardson, and more. So the next time you, Gary Doyle, or any of your friends need branded merchandise work done, check out shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim. Again, that's shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim. Tim Leahy is one of their experienced sales guys, and he is a good friend of the show, so check his site out.
And you can order your branded merchandise without getting COVID because it's all done electronically. I just want to point that out. But yes, Tim is a good man, and you'll like doing business with him, and your business will like doing business with him too, if businesses were humans and they could actually like someone. So check his site out. He responds quickly and is ready to simplify your life by handling your next branded merchandise need.
So head on over to shop.midwestgrp.com/Tim. You mentioned COVID in there. Have you had a COVID test yet?
Yeah, I had a COVID test. I went to a wedding a few weeks ago, and most people had masks, but it was still a gathering, and it was outdoors, but it was still a gathering. So I got a COVID test. It was weird. It was a self-administered COVID test. So I went to this drive-up window at a Walgreens where you usually get a prescription, and she handed me the test, and I did it myself. I stuck it up my nose, and
Did you stick it way up like they do with the long thing?
She said I stuck it about 14 inches up. I don't know if that was too much.
That's probably past your brain. You probably tapped the underside of your cranium.
She said, the person at the Walgreens said, do it to where it starts to become uncomfortable. Which is how I go through life, really. Eating, and so forth. But yeah, it was okay, and I don't have COVID.
Good. I had my first one this past week, and also came back negative. But yeah, it's very strange. I went to the one where, and actually somebody had told me this, and it ended up being really good advice, to get a note or a prescription first from my doctor, because then I was able to bypass those lines and went to a facility that was appointment only. But yeah, they stick it all the way back to a point where you feel like, in a weird way, you can almost swallow the long Q-tip. It's so far back there. But yeah, so it's nice to be negative. That's going to be on my T-shirt.
It's nice to be negative. It's too bad that we can't get a hold of the clinical COVID results, each of our results, and compare them to see who won the test, like who has the least COVID antibodies, or who has the most T cells, or whatever they measure. We could turn it into a competition like we do everything else.
I think it's safe to say that I would end up being more negative than you, just based on previous life experience.
Yeah, perhaps we could compare notes, or we could get our doctors together and ask them to analyze the results, and see who won COVID. Or perhaps if we could ever get Anthony Fauci on here, who we invited on the show, we could ask him who won.
I think the reason he turned it down was we told him he was going to be on the Monica Lewinsky episode, and that probably set him off. But yeah, maybe we would give him both of our blood workups from our last physicals and ask him to kind of, based on that blood work, who is the more superior specimen.
And then once that's determined, we can say, okay, Tony, now who's better looking?
All right, well, should we kick things off?
I thought we already did.
All right.
Go ahead, Tom. What's on your mind today?
Well, just been kind of going back again to our marketing roots and taking notes on some ad campaigns and commercials that I find particularly interesting or troubling. I wanted to mention a couple of them to you to kind of get your take on it. Well, one of them, actually, I just saw this morning while I was folding my laundry. And again, this is Jeff Goldblum for Apartments.com. My takeaway on that campaign is he is so weird, and everything about the campaign is so weird. I really don't understand what any of the benefits are. I remember the website, so that's a victory in and of itself, I guess. But there was a commercial where he had an extra finger on each hand. I mean, he just seems to be kind of this bizarre guy, and it's all about him. I just find he overwhelms the concept.
Yeah. I like those ads, and I don't remember anything about them, as you said, beyond Jeff Goldblum, Apartments.com, and I very much like the tagline. Maybe it's because it's how he says it, but or maybe it's not the tagline anymore, but it used to be, change your apartment, change the world. which makes no sense whatsoever. like the rest of the campaign, it's just a bunch of people getting high in a room and going, change your apartment, change the world. Maybe Jeff Goldblum's actually concepting those ads with them, with the creative team. He's like, guys, a fourth finger, a sixth finger on your hand.
What can we do with that?
What could we do with that?
Let's workshop that for a while.
Nobody has a sixth finger. Some people have four fingers, like Rahm Emanuel, but that's not as funny as six fingers.
Yeah, I look at him. He's always wearing all black. He's either some kind of mystical figure, or maybe he's some guy from the future. I just cannot figure out what he's supposed to be, other than just weird. And maybe I'm probably overthinking it, like everything else. But
I think it's one of those campaigns where the celebrity is the campaign. Matthew McConaughey spots for Lincoln are the same. The celebrity is the campaign. There's no real idea, really. It's just let's hire Jeff Goldblum and do something Jeff Goldblum-ish, which is not a bad approach. Let him go. Let him do your thing. Let him build your car ads around Matthew McConaughey ice fishing. We're looking at a bull standing in the middle of the road. Oh, I like Matthew McConaughey. In fact, his autobiography is out, called Green Lights. Green Lights. Just keep on living. Livin. Living. And I'm going to get it from the library because I think he's an interesting guy. I like him. He's like Jeff Goldblum. He's kind of a cartoon character, but cartoon characters are interesting in life. So there. By the way, I just want to say before we get off of Matthew McConaughey and car ads, what would be an incredibly meta, fantastic car ad with a Lincoln ad with Matthew McConaughey would be to wrap the car in one of those Christmas ribbons like they do for a Christmas ad and make a Matthew McConaughey Christmas ad like it's. You mean
like the Lexus December?
Yeah, December to Remember, exactly. It's like a ribbon around the car, and Matthew McConaughey's just looking at it going, that's a ribbon. That's a big ribbon. Don't know why the ribbon's around the car, but that's a ribbon.
You could put him in the driveway on Christmas morning all by himself, staring at the car, ruminating, while the family looks aghast from inside the house through the window, wearing their pajamas with their cocoa in their hands.
And then the line at the end of the spot, the button, if you will be him. Be him saying, "How do I get out of this car with this ribbon wrapped around it?"
To the agency that does Lincoln, Gary and Tom say, "You're welcome."
I actually know a guy. A good friend of mine does the Lincoln ad. So if you're listening, Luke, I'll not say your last name, but Luke, if you're listening, you're welcome.
We should have Luke on the pod. Pitch it to him right there, live.
I think Luke would have even less tolerance for our pod and all of its inanities than most of our listeners. Luke does not suffer fools, let me just say, so I don't think he'd be long for the pod.
Fine.
And I say that with great respect and affection for Luke.
Another campaign that I'm really, and I'm not saying this to be kind of a smart ass, I'm honestly trying to figure out what it's all about, is the spokesperson for Simply Safe. Have you seen this? It's a guy who wears one of those burglar style hats over his head that only reveal his eyes and his mouth. He likes a black hat pulled all the way over his head, so he looks like a cat burglar or whatever he used to call those people. So you think right off the bat, he's a bad guy. He's like Mayhem, He's the guy, the anti-hero, But he's in the house all the time. He seems to be installing the hardware for Simply Safe. He's even on the couch, sometimes playing with the child who lives in the house. So I don't understand his role. Have you seen these commercials? Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
I'm sorry, I haven't seen them.
Oh, my God. I'm going to have to delete this whole section. Well, maybe I won't. Because frankly, I think what I had to say was fairly interesting.
Go ahead.
All right, fine.
Our listeners can relate. They've probably seen the ads.
And this is a good opportunity to remind our listeners, if you have deciphered the Simply Safe spokesperson, please send an email to us at sothere@yahoo.com. Please enlighten us.
Yahoo is still an email platform.
And I should add, we never seem to get any mail anymore, except spam. So
I would lay that at the feet of Yahoo. Right. I think the fact that we haven't gotten any emails, probably Yahoo's famously rickety and unreliable servers. Either that or they've been hacked, as Yahoo always is, getting hacked, and the Russians have stolen emails to So There.
Is that your Yahoo conspiracy theory to explain our utter lack of popularity?
Well, I had to devise a conspiracy theory. It can't just be our lack of appeal.
Can't you just say we're not popular? Can't you just kind of do what our president should have done? We're not popular.
Oh, Tom Karamitis injecting politics.
I know, the first toehold into politics ever in 35 episodes of the pod.
Yeah, well, we did just have an election.
All right, good point.
Have we talked about people saying right?
I don't think so. You mean it's like a vocal tick?
Yeah.
All right, I think we just did. Should we move on to the next one?
No, I would like to talk about, Tom, about something that's probably been around for a while, but it's really started to grate on me a bit. And that's people who end a sentence by saying, right? So they'll make a point, at any point, Game of Thrones is a great show, right? It's a beautiful weekend. It's really sunny today, right? And it's a tick that a lot of people do, especially, I'm sorry to say this, millennials end sentences with right? And it's kind of it kind of annoys me because it's kind of like it's not enough to just make your point, but you then have to then ask if, do you agree with me? Am I right? You need, it's like a need for this affirmation. Once you've said something, it's not enough. You have to, right? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Right?
I think that tick is very, and I have noticed it, and I think it's very closely related to a tick where millennials often will raise their voice at the end of each question with an implied right. They kind of get into a bit.
That's what I'm talking about.
But I'm saying doing it without saying the word right, but there's an implied right in there because they keep raising their voice.
Yeah. Up talk.
Yeah.
Up talking. Right. Up talking. Yeah. I think it's a need. For. It's kind of a basic level of perhaps insecurity, but I just up talked. Insecurity, but also, a need for affirmation. Like another thing people do is, am I the only one who feels, then they'll say something, right? At any point. Am I the only one, that thinks that, that
this work is a little too broad?
Yeah. Am I the, versus saying, I think this work is a little too broad. Am I the only one? So it's this need for, affirmation and the basic level of insecurity. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a lack of confidence. I think that probably is
confidence.
Yeah. You notice these things a lot of times in client meetings or Zoom calls where one person is doing a lot of talking, and you feel a degree of empathy for them because a lot of times you can tell they're either getting a little nervous or uptight, or they're trying to stall, or they've kind of lost their train a little bit, and they're out there kind of just dangling out there on their own. But that's when their tics, their verbal tics, sometimes seem to come to life. I find is that kind of long, protracted monologue. And
I hear a lot of rights on Zoom calls. So we need to reach housewives 34 to 45, right? And so we're going to do that with an integrated plan that has a lot of Pinterest placements, right? Right. That's said not as a question, which is often right, but also like as a definitive statement, right? Yeah. So we're we're going to cut back spending in Q4, right? And
that's when you start. That's when you start on a side Zoom channel. You start a drinking game with other people, and they
right.
Have you seen the I'm sure you've seen the Burger King campaign now, which is basically all kind of real people stuff, right? It's kind of that whole hidden camera thing, getting real people to talk about the product. There's one now where I think they shoot it in a college dorm real early in the morning to see, will people get out? Will these college kids get out of bed early for these croissant sandwiches or whatever they're called? You've seen the campaign, right, for Burger King?
No.
All right. Then all right, it doesn't matter for my next question. But I generally like the commercials very much. There's one where I guess there's a promotion. They're giving people 2 Whoppers for $5, and they're getting the reaction of the people in their car at the drive-through window when they get their 2 Whoppers. And I think it all works. But to me, there's one person in the car who says, and I quote, $5 for 2 Whopper sandwiches? And as soon as I hear that, I think, oh, my God, who on earth would say Whopper sandwiches? You know what? Was that like the client on the Zoom call? And, everyone knows what a Whopper is. To me, adding the word sandwich, all of a sudden, you've lost me. Who would ever say that? It's another thing that happens in commercials that never happens in real life, like people enjoying getting rained on or something. It's one of those ad things. Whopper sandwiches? Really? Have you ever said Whopper sandwiches? Do you say Big Mac sandwich?
It reminds me of those Chevy Real People commercials where the 5 people look at a Chevy when it's unveiled from behind a curtain or whatever, and they go, "Whoa," and they say things like, "Boy, Chevy is really killing it." Nobody says Chevy's really killing it.
Oh my God! They should just come out and say, "I hope I make the final edit. I love Chevy." Because I get $50 for just being here, but if I make the final edit, I get $5,000.
I read a very humorous article about the making of those ads where they've become so ubiquitous now that they've been running them a lot for 5 years now, and they become so ubiquitous that people are wise to it, and so they recruit these people in malls, and things like that. Pre-COVID, they recruit them, shopping malls. So you want to be in an ad, and they'd figure out it was for Chevy, and then what the ads were, and so they knew that if they said things like that, they figured out that if they said things like that, like wow, Chevy is really killing it with this car, that they'd get on the air. And so they would all outdo themselves to say the most ridiculously obsequious things about Chevy.
Are they still running those? I feel like I haven't seen them in a while. I wonder if that...
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh.
Yeah.
But they must have done 100 of them. You're right, they were ubiquitous. They were all over every place, to a point where they started getting parodied. So then you've hit mass saturation.
Yeah. I had a campaign of mine get parodied on SNL once for Morgan Stanley years and years ago. It actually got parodied. The one where you didn't know it was the financial advisor. Remember? They made a parody ad of that on Saturday Night Live.
I don't remember that.
And the client was very upset about it. And I go, no, this is a good thing. I mean, if your campaign has found its way into popular culture so much that they parody it, then that's arrived. A good thing. Yeah, it's not like Chevy bludgeons you with sheer media tonnage to achieve that kind of cultural place. But Morgan Stanley didn't have that kind of budget. They just had a really good campaign. But I digress.
Gary, as we move into the holiday season, I've been ruminating lately on useless things to spend money on. And I don't know about you. I've been getting an email recently, and I think it's I get the mass emails from Groupon, and one of the things they've been hawking lately is 1 acre of land on Mars. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're selling, believe it or not, 1 acre of land on Mars. And it occurred to me that every so often, marketers will sell something that is absolutely, utterly useless, but for some reason, people still feel compelled to buy it. I remember 10 or 15 years ago, there was a company that was, they said, name a star after somebody. Right, and they said your star will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office, which made it sound very official, but all it really was they were publishing some dinky paperback and getting it copyrighted. But people were thinking they were actually having a star named after them, and this harkened back to me to when we were teenagers. Do you remember the pet rock?
Yeah, I was thinking of the pet rock when you were talking about this.
Unbelievable. I mean, if I remember, there was a little rock inside like
a
box with cotton that you'd give somebody a necklace in, right?
Yeah, genius.
Yeah,
genius. But who owns Mars? That you can sell land on Mars. To sell land, you have to own that land. And does Groupon own Mars? Have they staked a claim to Mars? Have they said Mars is ours? Hey, there's a slogan. Mars is ours.
You're welcome.
So there. You're welcome. You're welcome, Mars. Lincoln, Mars. The idea is to spring from my forehead like Penelope from Zeus. Yeah. No, that's pretty. I thought the pet rock was ingenious. I think selling an acre of Mars is. How much is an acre of Mars?
I have never clicked on it.
Speaking of useless purchases, you know what I bought on Amazon yesterday?
A Lamborghini.
those wavy men outside of car dealerships they're red and they flap wildly in the wind. Their arms flap all around and they tilt from side to side. I got a desktop version of that, like an 8-inch tall version of that you turn on your desk and it just blows around.
So does it have like a fan that?
Yeah.
Is this like comedic fodder during your Zoom calls or something? Or?
Well, the truth is my bride wanted me to buy it because she's going to give it as a gift to somebody else.
Well, then, until next time, this is Tom and Gary saying,
So there!